Walter for Ms. Miller Anderson. Nope, there's not one there for sure. On the way. Shirley.
She's next.
No, there's no mic there. That's the mayor.
Going in the wrestling ring here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Asked if he was ready. I'd like to call to order the Utility Special District meeting. Today is August 16th. The time is 5:36. Madam Clerk?
Chairperson Lawson,
Here.
Vice Chair Lanier,
Here.
Board Member Troderick McCoy.
Here.
Board Member Kashamba Mill Anderson,
Present.
Board Member Julia Botel,
Here.
ex officio Board Member Mayor Ronnie Felder, Jonathan Evans, City Manager, Michael Lowe, Executive Director,
Here.
Tawana Smith, District Clerk is present, Don Nguyen, District Attorney,
Here.
Randy Sherman, Finance Director. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If we can have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman McCoy. Board Member McCoy.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Board Member. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
Yep.
Board, if we can look to move to consent.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Sorry, Mr. Evans, go ahead.
my apologies. We do have a late add on to the addition, Mr. Lowe, if you want to communicate that.
Yes, yesterday we added one late item to do with Brown and Caldwell's assistance with getting our consumptive use permit. I can explain more in detail later, but the South Florida Water Management District is demanding additional modeling be done. And so we needed to add to their previous task order. And that's the purpose of the emergency application that we put on.
And where we adding that, Mr. Evans or Mr. Lowe?
It came at 7D, I think.
So it's on this printed agenda on online, Resolution 2423?
It was put online late yesterday, yes.
Okay. All right, so Board, if we'd entertain moving item 7A, Resolution 2023, 7B, Resolution 2723 to consent.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Board, are we okay with that? Madam Clerk, we're going to move 7A and 7B to consent.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Board Member McCoy, go ahead.
I did have questions about that, but,
Well, we can leave it in its place and go
But,
through the items.
Obviously, I don't want to hold things out here, but I would prefer if we could at least talk to 7A and 7B, and perhaps the generators can go on to consent, and that's going to be 7C.
7C? I'm okay with C as well. I did have a question that they answered in agenda review, but I'm okay with C. So you have questions about 7A and 7B. So we'll leave those in those places, and then we'll move 7C to consent. Disclosures by the board? Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion been made and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Board Member Mill Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That vote passes, Mr. Chair, unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All matters listed under this item are considered on consent or considered routine, and action will be taken by one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items unless a council person so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered its normal sequence. We move 7C to consent. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on consent, and the acceptance of public comment cards for the consent agenda are now closed.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Made and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chair, I didn't get the second.
Ms. Miller Anderson, Board Member Miller Anderson.
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Board Member Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chair Lawson.
Yes.
That vote passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Going into regular agenda, item 7A, Resolution 2023.
Item 7A, Resolution Number 20-23 UD, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utilities Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, recommending the approval of an agreement between the Utilities Special District and Ratafelis Financial Consultants Incorporated to provide utility rate and financial consulting services, authorizing the district chairperson and district clerk to execute this agreement, authorizing the district finance director to make payment from account 41131101531000, contract services not to exceed $60,000, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on this item, and the acceptance of public comment cards are now closed.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-23 UD.
Second.
Thank you. The motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I can have the Utility Special District Executive Director, Mr. Michael Lowe, to make this presentation.
Mr. Chair, Michael Lowe, Executive Director for the record. This is an item come forward from working with the Finance Department for Raftelis to look at our rate structure and see how we could adjust the rate structure accordingly based upon the discussions we did have at our, when we had our budget review last month. So they will look at the structure of the rates and see if we can change the way in which we apply so that people who use less water maybe aren't impacted as severely by any of the other increases that are necessary in order to fund both the ongoing operations of the utility and ultimately at the new water treatment facility.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Lowe. Board Member McCoy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Lowe, do we have the bond feasibility report that was done last year by resolution? That we authorized to be done by resolution?
We don't have that yet, no, because we're still, the bond feasibility report ultimately is going to need to know how much that we're borrowing. So we also have an engineering feasibility report that is being prepared as well.
What about whatever previous or historical rate study? Have you seen any since you've been here?
I haven't seen a finalized point, no, not since I've been here.
Right, but there's one that was commissioned in 2017. I don't recall ever receiving or sending one, and I mean, I guess that's kind of why I was curious. I mean, even going back from 2017, I know we tried to revisit increasing rates in 2020, but I don't recall. It says the rate study was presented in draft format in February of 2018. From 2018 to 2022, Raftelis has continued to provide rate analysis services. I mean, it seems like quite a while, and I want to know exactly what has been done since 2018, which is 5 years now.
Obviously, I wasn't here at the time, but since I have been here, we have been working on the rate proposals that have come forward and are being considered later next month. But in terms of bond analysis, nothing yet have I seen But I will check with Mr. Sherman when he returns, and we'll look to see what was produced beforehand.
Okay.
Any other comments, Board Member McCoy?
No.
Thank you. Board? Madam Clerk?
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Board Member Miller Anderson, Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That vote passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, Resolution 2723.
Item 7B, Resolution Number 27-23, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utilities Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, recommending the approval of an agreement between the Utilities Special District and Ratafilis Financial Consultants Incorporated to provide utility impact fee consulting services, authorizing the district chairperson and district clerk to execute this agreement, authorizing the district finance director to make payment from account 411-311-01-531000, contract services not to exceed $24,600, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on this item, and the acceptance of public comment cards are now closed.
Motion to approve resolution number 27-23 UD.
Second.
And properly second, Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, if I can have the executive director, Mr. Michael Lowe, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. For the record, Michael Lowe, Executive Director. This item is to review our, I call them cap fees or capacity fees, also called impact fees. Since the last time we set fees, there's been considerable inflation in the construction market, and the purpose of these fees is it goes into a special account, and it's used for future expansion of the utility services as a result of new buildings and investment within our city or service areas. So they are going to review what's happened and come up with suggested new fees for adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Board members?
Mr. Chair.
Board Member McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Lowe, you indicated that these were, or at least the first Raftelis item was Mr. Sherman's. Are you more familiar with this one involving impact fees?
This is also Mr. Sherman's, but I've been working with him, discussing the issue, and did ask him that we should look at our impact fees.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe I don't understand this, but it seems that the scope of services are almost identical in both agreements. Is there something different that I should have expected from the impact fee, from this agreement for them to do impact fee analysis?
They're just going to look at a slightly different data set as opposed to the impact of our operations. They're going to look at what's happening out within the industry with regards to just the construction element. But beyond that, a fairly similar type of analysis, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member McCoy. Board?
Chair,
Board Member Lanier?
Mr. Lowe, when was the last time these impact fees were looked at?
2017, I think, is my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lanier. Madam Clerk?
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Board Member Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That vote passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 7C has been moved to consent. 7D, Resolution 2423.
Item 7D, Resolution Number 24-23, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utilities Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving on an emergency basis the proposal from Brown and Caldwell to perform supplemental analysis and aquifer modeling in response to South Florida Water Management District's additional information request, regarding the modifications to the Utility Special District's consumptive use permit application, authorizing the Utility Special Finance Director to make special payment from project number 23039 in an amount not to exceed $159,373 and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards are now closed.
Motion to approve resolution number 24-23 UD.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I could have the Executive Director of the Utility District, Mr. Michael Lowe, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Director. Mr. Chairman, what's happened here is that we've had a task order with Brown and Caldwell now for a couple of years at least, as they've been working through both our 10-year water supply plan and the connected consumptive use permit. As we've been basically negotiating with the South Florida Water Management District, what's come to light in their review is that in 2012, when they issued the previous permit, there was a provision in it for us to build 2 more wells designated A and B. The district never did build those wells, but is fully intending to as part of the current new water plant design effort going on at the moment. And but the district has said, no, they want to see what the impact is on the aquifer as a result of not building those wells. So we're going to have to do some modeling of the aquifer to prove the point to them that there was no adverse effect on the superficial aquifer. So that's basically what they're asking us to do. And at the same time, they're also reviewing our conservation efforts and doing an in-depth study on conservation, comparing us with others. One of the things that the district looks at very closely anytime they deal with a consumptive use permit is what you're doing towards conservation. We've been beefing up what we're doing, but we still have to work with them on some of the numbers. They look, for instance, at the balance of water we're pumping out of the ground and how much we actually sell and items like that. So we've got to do further work with them on those 2 efforts and beef up our modeling of the aquifer so that we can see what we need to do. Finally, there's a small amount of work as we finally cite where we're going to go into the Floridan aquifer. We just have to check that the modeling we did before meets exactly what's needed with regards to those calculations. They're not as complicated as the superficial, but they do have to be done. The reason this came in as an emergency, just to explain that, is that the contract with our continuing engineering contract, I missed out. I thought it went this month. It actually expired last month. We're about to go out to the marketplace for a new 5-year contract. But until then, we don't have the original contract to use. So because they're the only people, and they and their subs, who are they're the people doing the aquifer modeling, are the people that have already got all the information, etc. We need to try and bring the same team on so that we don't have to pay again for that work to be done. So that's the reason for going now quickly, just as it expired on the 25th of July, so I just missed it.
Board Member Botel, go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. So this $159,373, what does that cover? Does that cover just this particular aspect, or does that allow us to use them for other things? Is it a time-delimited thing or a project-delimited amount?
It's funds in order for us to complete both the 10-year water supply plan, which they're holding up for similar reasons, and the consumptive use permit. We must have the consumptive use permit to finalize design when it comes to the new water plant. Okay. So knowing how much water they're allowing us from the superficial aquifer has an impact on what we design when we build the plant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Botel. Board members? Board Member McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. I heard your explanation, and it is complex, but I'm still quite not clear how we arrive at emergency. You indicated that the agreement passed or expired last month, but what would, help me understand what exactly do you mean by emergency? Is this an emergency per the procurement policy? We're seeking emergency procurement, or is this an emergency because of some need?
It's, as I said, it's an emergency procurement, and it's because we need to get this done immediately as opposed to waiting for us to go through the whole process through CCNA, of selecting our future continuing engineering consultants.
So I guess I still don't understand. So they're not the only ones that can do this, Mr. Lowe. In fact, I've had a company reach out to me before who indicated that they were a part of the CCNA and they were qualified and accepted as a firm. And I think we've even met with them, but you're giving them an exclusive right to a $159,000 agreement that nobody else is getting. And the mere fact that the contract expired next month, I mean, they're not going to perform this work in the next 30 days anyways, Mr. Lowe.
They're going to start the work immediately that this is issued. I mean, in answer to the question, if you went to somebody else, yes, then you've got to bring them up totally up to speed with all the issues with the management district and take it from there. This ensures that we move this thing forward quickly, since we already have all of the discussions, paperwork, modeling, etc., and know exactly where we are with the management district.
Oh,
Go ahead, Board Member McCoy.
so Mr. Lowe, the City of Riviera Beach Code of Ordinance is 16.5 and involves purchasing and procurement. I don't know that this actually, that I could agree with you that this actually fits within that model, because even still, this is a professional services, more or less a professional services solicitation, but I don't see how, even based off of your renewed explanation, that this is not something that has to be done today and can't be put back out. How long does the solicitation to put this back out? I mean, just because we dropped the ball doesn't necessarily sound the alarm for
3
us
months.
to deviate from our current procurement code.
Probably at least 3 months, which could delay the building of the water plant by 3 months.
Right, but so even if the South Florida Water Management District came back and asked for additional information for analysis, I mean, was this not contemplated? Because I think we talked about, at least you mentioned that this went back to 2012.
When we first went through to the management district, we took the stance that since we were going to build the wells, that the need to do the modeling wasn't necessary. But after extensive discussion with the district, they are demanding that this model be done. And so we have no choice but to go ahead with that.
And what's the basis for this amount? How did they arrive at this?
This is based upon the hours needed to do the modeling and the other work. There is a breakdown within it of the various hours that the various specialists will be working.
Okay. And this came when? Today or yesterday?
No, this came, I'll be honest, this came a while back, but by the time we got to this point, putting it through, and we thought that we had the contract still this month, we turned out at the last second that we didn't. So we had to go and review things a different way.
Okay. So, or less, this was someone's oversight.
Yes, you could say it was my oversight, yep.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Board Member. Board, any additional questions? Madam Clerk?
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Board Member Mel Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Nope.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That vote passes, Mr. Chair, 4-1 with Mr. McCoy dissenting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any public comments for the Utility District meeting?
No, Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Discussion deliberations, City Manager.
I have nothing, Mr. Chair.
Executive Director?
I do have one thing, Mr. Chair. I've got some good news, I think, and that is that under the Build America Act, there was some special funding put aside for what they call emerging contaminants. In other words, PFAS, PFOS, which we've been talking about before. The rules regarding that are different than normally when applied with the State Revolving Loan Fund. And as a community, we actually qualify for potentially loans that are 100% forgiven. So we put forward an application with them, went through for discussion last week, and we have been granted priority status. So they've given us an additional $100,000, which we use for our continued planning effort. And then following that, we will be applying for loans, forgiveness loans, towards the elements of the new water treatment plant that are relevant to this funding. It's a 5-year funding effort, and this is just year 2. So there's chances over the next, following 3 years to seek funding.
Perfect. Director Lowe, it's excellent news. Thank you so much. Additional comments by the board? Starting with Board Member Botel. Board Member Miller Anderson. Board Member McCoy.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
do we have an update on Town of Mangonia Park? Or what's the latest, I should ask?
Town of Mangonia Park, we're working with them now. They have asked us to, they made a suggestion that we should bill them for their wastewater directly to the homes. So we're working through that exercise. It would be done at normal rates as per everybody else.
Additional comments, Board Member McCoy?
For
City
the rate
Manager,
for-
go ahead. Sorry.
the rates outside the service area. So they're asking for us to provide for 2 different options. One, if we were to bill their consumers directly, or one, if we were to bill them directly. So we're still building out that particular model, but it looks like there's a resolution that's here in the future. The assistant manager, Mr. Lowe, and Mr. Sherman have been working in collaboration with the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Board Member McCoy?
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Lanier? And I have no
No.
and I have no additional comments. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.